Hello everyone. In this video, I'll be creating a table in Excel and thoroughly explain each step I take using simple words. You'll learn how to create complex headers, set up filters, add hyperlinks, freeze panes, and master basic calculations. Also, I will share with you some tricks that will come in handy for quick and efficient work in this program. I will explain the material in such a way that even a first grader can understand it. If this video seems too fast or slow to you, then you can easily choose the playback speed that suits you. And if you want to watch videos without sound, then just turn on subtitles. I wish you a pleasant viewing. And let's get started. I'm launching Excel. And I click on the icon called Blank Workbook. Before creating a table in the program, I recommend that you draft a sketch, for example on a piece of paper, so that it's easier to navigate later and not get confused with the number of headers, rows, and so on. Having decided on the sketch, I proceed to create the table header. My table will represent a report on electronic sales by Sony for the first quarter of 2023. In the first column, I will list the item numbers, so I type the corresponding sign here. The next column will contain the names of the sold products. Now, I'll indicate the months. The first quarter of the year includes January, February, and March, but I will write them one row above. Each month should reflect the data about the number of goods sold, their price, and the total amount. Alright, I'll merge the three cells with the name of the month into one. This is necessary for the correct formatting of my table. Next, I should fill in the remaining 2 months following the same principle. However, this can be done much faster thanks to the autofill feature. I simply select all the cells related to the first month and, holding down the left mouse button on the lower corner of the cell, drag the area to the right across 6 columns. Done. Now I move on to fill in the last column. And the final element of the table header is its title. I'll write it at the very top and merge the cells. At this point, the table header is not very visually appealing, so I want to add borders. To do this, I select it, and in the border selection menu, I click on this icon. Now the table header looks better, but it has empty cells that spoil its appearance. If I merge the cells, I will face problems with data sorting later on, and besides, I won't be able to convert this range into a smart table because it doesn't allow merged cells. To avoid problems in future work, I recommend avoiding merging the cells that will participate in calculations, filtering, and sorting of data. So, I press the key combination Ctrl plus Z several times to undo the last actions in the program. It is possible to achieve an effect similar to cell merging in several ways. I will remove the border in the first column, and the Erase Border tool will help me with this. I'll click once on the unnecessary border, and then press the ESC key to exit this editing mode. Now the border is gone, but the grid element is still displayed here, which I don't need. I can remove the entire grid by going to the View tab and checking the Grid Lines checkbox. But on the other hand, I can be clever and get rid of the grid only in certain areas. Let's bring the grid back. Now I'll select 2 cells from the first column. I will choose a white fill color. Great, but I need to do the same with the product and quarterly total columns. I can simply copy my format. To do this, I'll select the two cells from the first column and click twice on the icon called Format Painter. Then I'll select the cells from the other columns in turn. I'll press ESC to exit edit mode. Done, only the last column is extra. I'll select it by clicking the column letter at the top of the worksheet. I'll right-click and choose the Delete command. And I'll distribute the title of the last column across two cells. Good. I deliberately made such a complex header so you could get more useful information from my lesson. Additionally, you can avoid merging cells by using special alignment, but it will only work with horizontal display. For example, I will undo the merge of the cells in the month title. I select the range and press Ctrl+1 to bring up the Format Cells window. In the Alignment tab, under Horizontal, I click on this icon and a drop-down list opens. In it, I select Center Across Selection. And I click OK. Here's the result. As you can see, achieving a visual effect of merging cells is not that difficult. Now, even with such a table header, I will be able to easily perform calculations, sorting, and so on. I'll convert the remaining range into a smart table. Notice that from the entire table header, I only selected the last row. This is important because it does not contain merged cells and is perfect for a Smart Table's header role. I go to the Insert tab. Then I click on the table icon, or press Ctrl+T. In the window that appears, I check the box and press OK. From this point on, my table consists of two different ranges. The first two rows are a regular range, and everything else is converted into a Smart Table. Notice that when I select any of the Smart Table cells, an additional tab appears called Table Design. All right. I can easily add new rows or columns by dragging the bottom right corner on the right side of the table. You've probably noticed that the header row has lost its original look. Actually, everything is fine. I just need to undo the formatting that was automatically added to the Smart Table. To do this, I go to the Table Design tab and open the Style Selection menu. I'm specifying the first version. Done, but also numerical designations have appeared in columns with the same names. In the Smart Table, they are added automatically and unfortunately, they cannot be removed as they reappear. We can leave everything as is. But if you need to remove these numbers, you can make the titles unique. For this, I remove the numbers and replace them with a single space. And in the column where the month is March, I put two spaces. Let's continue filling in. Now I will enter data into the second column. I will not type them manually, as I already have these data, so I will just copy them. I press Ctrl+C. And to paste, I press Ctrl+V. As you can see, the data was copied, but the names extend beyond the boundaries of their column. I can increase the width of the column by clicking on the border at the top of the worksheet, or manually adjust it by holding the border with the left mouse button. Too large a width does not suit me, so I will wrap the text inside the cell. For this, I select the range by pressing Ctrl plus Shift plus down arrow. And I click on the icon Wrap Text. That's better. But I want all the rows to have the same width. To do this, I move the mouse cursor to the extreme left side of the sheet until an arrow appears. Then I hold down the left mouse button and select Rows. Now if I manually move any of the borders, the width of all the other rows becomes the same. Only the borders are missing. I press the combination of keys Ctrl plus A, which leads to the selection of the range of the table. And I add borders. And now I want to change the appearance of the header to visually separate it from the rest of the table. I slightly increase the sizes of columns and rows. I will also increase the font size and make the title bold. I will perform the fill. Done, and now I will fill in the columns with the price and quantity. You already know how it is done, so I will fast forward this procedure. Excellent! The table has noticeably transformed. I want to slightly change the borders of some columns to make it easier for me to navigate in the table. So, it's time to calculate the sum of the sales for each month. I put an equals sign in cell G5. I need to multiply the quantity by the price. I can simply click on these cells and put a multiplication sign between them. After pressing the Enter key, the formula will work, but if I copy it to other cells, it will make an incorrect calculation. The thing is that the Smart Table made the cell references absolute, and their addresses do not shift when copied. Therefore, I will undo several last actions by pressing Ctrl plus Z and will change the formula. This time I will enter the cell addresses manually. The address of the cell with the quantity is E5, and with the price is F5. Done. Now I press Ctrl+C to copy. I select two cells from other columns, holding down the Ctrl key. And press the combination of keys Ctrl+V to paste the formula. I press ESC to exit copying mode. Now the formula has copied correctly, and everything works as it should. However, for the last column, I will use the standard method. I press equals and sum up the amounts for each month. Super! In the Table Design tab, I will check the checkbox Total Row. At the bottom of the table, a total row has appeared. First, I'll format it. Since I've created a smart table, I can calculate the total without resorting to formulas. In each cell of the total row, there is a drop-down list from which you can select the desired result. It could be the sum of values or the total number of cells in the column, and so on. In the cells with prices, I'll put a dash. Friends, the table is almost ready, but here I suddenly remembered that I forgot to add a column with product categories to it. In this case, don't worry. To fix the situation, I move the mouse cursor to the top of the worksheet, right above the column where a new column needs to be added. The cursor should be in the area of the letter designations. I click the right mouse button and select the Insert command. A new column has appeared. Now I will fill and format it. But in the first column, I'll perform numbering with the help of cell autofill. To analyze data in a table, there are various tools. Let's look at conditional formatting. I'll select the last column, excluding the total row. And click on this icon. In the pop-up list, you can set a color designation that will visually display the magnitude of the difference between the values of the selected cells. Thus, at first glance at the table, you can determine which products brought the highest income and which did not. The result will become especially clear after sorting. Experiment with conditional formatting and get a well-readable table, the data in which is easy to analyze. Of course, there are many more tools for analysis. Among them are charts, sparklines, pivot tables, and so forth. But within the scope of this lesson, we will not dwell on them, as my task in this video is to reveal to you the basic principles of working in Excel. However, we will still take a brief look at sorting and filtering. So, a filter is a very convenient tool, especially if you plan to work with a large amount of data. Note that in the title, I have special buttons. They were added automatically after I converted the range into a smart table. These are filter buttons. Look, I click on the filter button in the column that lists the product categories. In the drop-down list, I can tell the program which categories to display on the screen and which to hide. For instance, I want the table to only display products that belong to the category audio. To achieve this, I leave the checkbox selected only for this category and click OK. Similarly, I can add another category. Let's say it will be photography equipment. And to revert to the original view, I will select the Command Clear filter. You can filter data by any column in the table. Moreover, the filtering conditions can be diverse. Let's carry out a filter on the last column with a condition that it should only show cells with values higher than $100,000. For this, I go into the Filter settings. In the Number Filters tab, I choose the item greater than. In the dialog box, I enter the number 100,000 in the top row and click OK. Great, if the filter buttons are in your way, you can hide them. There is a special checkbox in the Table Design tab that controls their display. By the way, there is a detailed video tutorial on sorting and filtering data in Excel on my channel, and I highly recommend you study it. Moving on. When working with large tables, the feature to lock areas will be useful. Look, as I scroll down the table, the column titles remain visible. However, it becomes difficult to understand which month the values correspond to. And if I shift the view to the right, the products disappear from my view. To prevent this, I use the Freeze Panes feature. I click on cell E5. And in the View tab, I press the Freeze Panes icon. Excellent, now the table header and product names are always in view. Next, sometimes you may need notes. Let's say in February a client refused a TV and returned it to the store. I'll write here -1. And to keep the staff informed, I right-click on this cell. In the menu that appears, I choose the command Insert Comment and write a brief message. From this moment, a small red triangle appears in the cell, indicating that if you hover the mouse cursor over it, you can see the comment and understand the reason for the -1. Moreover, I can specifically mark this cell with a fill color. I will also add a link to this TV. I right-click and select the respective option. In the address bar, I can specify a link to a website or a specific file on my device. I copy it and paste it. Click OK. Thus, when I click on this cell, the very link I just specified will open in my browser. And just as I added a link to a website, I will add a link to a file that is on my computer. Let it be a photograph of this TV. Done. This time when I click on the cell, it doesn't open a website, but an image instead. If desired, the note and link can be easily removed to return the cell to its previous state. Sometimes you might encounter a situation where you need to maintain the sequence of numbering when adding or deleting rows in your table. Look, I now deleted a row, and the numbering got mixed up. Instead of the 5th row, I have the 6th immediately, and this is incorrect. The same thing will happen in the case of adding a new row. It turns out that here should be the number 4. And here, number 3. So, now I'll show you a way to eliminate this problem. In cell C5, I put the equals sign and enter a function called row. I leave the brackets empty and press the Enter key. You might ask, why does the number 5 appear here? It's simple. In this case, the program outputs a value that corresponds to the number of the row in which this cell is located. And since it's in the 5th row, we get 5. But we need to start numbering from the very beginning, that is, from 1. Therefore, I go back to the formula. I put a minus sign and specify the number that needs to be subtracted to get 1. So, I subtract 4 and do an autofill of the formula for the entire column. Well, let's check the result. Now I can comfortably delete and add rows without worrying about the numbering. This lesson is coming to an end. Please give a like if you enjoyed the lesson and subscribe to the channel to not miss new videos. By following the link in the description and the first pinned comment, you can provide financial support to the channel, as all the lessons are completely free. I wish you success in your learning. Goodbye.